it's time to go, and well, thank you for joining us here on our YouTube live stream. And I'd like to start out by introducing Colin Percival, who I think will be known to many who are watching. Colin is not only one of the star explorers of the UKCS.
Thank you, Mike.
He's also paid me a lot of money to say that, as well as that.
And what a pleasure it is to be here on Monday afternoon with Mike.
As ever. Yeah, and we've got a lot of material to get through today. So we're going to do a quick tour of the announcements that came out in the 33rd licensing round today, but also take a bit of time looking at the blocks that were applied for and weren't announced today. But okay, we'll see if we've got that sorted. Going back to the round, so we're going to start off here. This is your backyard, Colin. So here's the West of Shetlands and a blow up of the region. Now, just to explain the colour scheme on these maps, I'll just do it the once. So in red, you can see these are all the blocks that were up in the licensing round. The sort of the purplish blocks, they're the ones that have been awarded now. This morning, and also in yellow, they are the license blocks. Now, grey, these show areas where they must have been relinquished in between the license round starting and now, essentially. So these are areas of open acreage. So, Colin, what's been happening west of Shetland?
Well, first thing I would say, Mike, is that there's still a large area of acreage west of Shetlands that was applied for that we haven't had an announcement on this morning. So that area to the and you can see it on this map here in the pink colours. All that acreage was applied for, and it's only the green ones that have actually been offered this morning. And as you can see, there are only two companies that have applied for acreage west of Shetland that's been offered this morning, which is Shell.
Shell I've heard of, but what's this other company?
And Athena Exploration.
Who exactly are they?
Athena are a small company, and they have several licenses which are shown in yellow on this map here, two of which are adjacent to the green areas in the north there. So anyway, we're expecting some more awards west of Shetland. Shell have taken a big position already, and they may take out additional acreage there. We'll perhaps start off in the very southwest, where they've taken out a block adjacent to Schiehallion, down the very corner there. But most of the acreage is up in the north, which obviously in Schiehallion is an oil play down there. I mean, Schiehallion itself did have a very small gas cap, Foinaven has a gas cap, but essentially it's an oil province down there. And then in the north, it's mainly a gas play. And relatively recently, Shell did purchase the Victory gas discovery, which is in
208, is it?
Yeah, 20826 down there, which is they're planning on developing and tying back to the Shetland gas plant. Well, I think, the first thing I would say was that companies who aren't present so far.
Yeah.
No Total on that map yet, no BP. Those are the two companies that have most of the infrastructure west of Shetland in terms of producing infrastructure. No Equinor, who are obviously in things like Rosebank, which has just received project sanction. Perhaps some of those companies will become licensees in the next awards in this area, but at the moment it's Shell and Athena. And the Shell awards do cover two significant discoveries, Tobermory in 2144 and Bunnahabhain in 2149, which combined are about 700 BCF recoverable. Mike, perhaps you can show us something on Tobermory or Bunnahabhain.
Sure. Let me just see what we got there. I seem to have Bunnahabhain. So so this is our entry within TROVE here for Bunnahabhain, and you can see we've got all sorts of maps and outlines for everything, and this is all from our TROVE database. So that's Bunnahabhain, and you can see all the fields in here. There was Tobermory. It was out of.
I mean, it's a very simple 4-way dip closure. Tobermory is. The problem with it has been that it sits in about 5,500 foot of water and is around about 450, 500 BCF recoverable. So it hasn't been big enough commercially to develop it so far. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not on its own sanctionable with that volume. But immediately to the south, and it's got an Eocene reservoir. It's good quality. It's like 35% porosity, hundreds of millidarcies. But immediately to the south is Bunnahabhain, which is slightly older in terms of reservoir. It's flat, Paleocene, which we've never found the gas water contact on, so we don't know how big it is. So Shell have taken out both of those discoveries and the adjacent acreage. What the region needs is another couple of hundred BCF discovered for commercial development, and there's plenty of exploration potential in the area.
So that's all in these tranches up here.
And then Athena have taken out the Crag and Moor discovery and the adjacent prospectivity. And Crag and Moor is a Paleocene Vela discovery. It's a stratigraphic pinch out. It's about a TCF JIP, but it has a reservoir quality issue. So well tests have been low, a few million cubic feet per day. But there are additional prospects in the area.
Cool.
So I think Shell have, advancing a gas strategy west of Shetland. They've got the Victory development. They've got Tobermory and Bunnahabhain, and they've got a lot of exploration potential.
That's cool. So that's our kind of overview of West of Shetland's early days. Some great awards. I mean, if all the blocks applied for end up getting awarded, it really will be a major change for the whole West of Shetlands thing. So the whole sea. So looking forward to that. And we'll be putting an update and possibly even another live stream in January when we come to it. Switching now quickly to the northern North Sea. So here we can see, if we start right at the north end, an area that I'm quite familiar with. This is Bridge Petroleum. They've kind of gone back and relicensed on Northwest Hutton. This is a trying to move it forward and back to redevelopment. And then and here's Ping. Basically, they've gone for the old Hutton field now. Lots and lots of potential in Hutton. It's been over 25 years since there was any production, and during that time there's been resaturation, probable repressurization. Very, very interesting. It's both Brent opportunities. Hutton is the shallower of the two, and the rock is getting a little tighter as you get down into Northwest Hutton, and slightly more difficult to work. But then that's we'll talk more about that in the future, I'm sure. If we then move down the line here, you can see down in quadrant 9. This is in the region just down to the southeast of Bruce and going over towards the median line with Norway. And this is an area where it's actually all the Norwegian companies. So I think DNO come in with Aker BP and Equinor. They have been looking at this area, and I guess with a view to tie back to Alfheim.
That seems a logical thing, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a couple of Equinor blocks there, and they're straight to second term. And I would say that's one thing about the round. There's a lot of licences been awarded straight to second term. When you look at the overall summary of the round, it's either straight to second term, phase A, studies mainly, or it's been essentially merged into an existing licence.
That's right, and we'll come back on that. But looking here, there is a small block here that Equinor are going to be going for. It's in between, basically, from Mariner and did we say that was Beryls? Was it or?
Beryls to the east, isn't it? And that's got a discovery just immediately east of Mariner, which we know has vastly underperformed due to water breakthrough, essentially. So they'll be looking for incremental volumes to go across their facility.
Now, as well as that, I think if we go to our Ben, can you drive us across to that quadrant 9 area on? Yeah, it's down a little bit. Yeah, so you can see here the blocks in pink. They are they're yet to be awarded. They have been applied for, so we expect they will. We're not sure whether it's really the blocks that have had the significant work programs have actually. Are they the blocks that have been awarded today and published today? Perhaps there's just lower work programs on these other blocks. Colin, just want to for people not quite as familiar, you said that some of these have gone to the second term. What does that actually mean for people who are not that familiar with the licensing round process?
Yeah, just to summarise, in terms of the licence terms, then the initial term or the first term is essentially exploration. The second term is appraisal stroke submitting a field development plan, and the third term is production. So if you're going straight to the second term, you are not doing any exploration. You are basically compiling a field development plan for a sanctionable project at the end of that term.
Okay.
So those companies are basically putting together that field development plan, getting together the financing to actually sanction the project and go into production.
So it's quite probable here that this tranche of acreage that D&O and Equinor right on the median line, they're looking to take that back across the median line into Alfheim, an FPSO in the Norwegian sector. And then the Equinor block here, that's likely to be looking towards a field development justification to tie something back to Mariner.
To Mariner, yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's great. So moving on, and we'll go back now and move down to the Outer Moray Firth. Oh, we know and love this area very, very well. So a number of awards you can see highlighted in here. If we start, at the top left, Anasuria Hibiscus. This is the Malaysian oil company, the operator, and they're trying to develop the sunflower and marigold. Now, the acreage that they've picked up here, we believe that's a couple of small discoveries, Stag and Crown.
Yeah, two small Paleocene discoveries, which they're obviously hoping to develop along with sunflower and marigold.
And again, these have gone straight to second term with a view to trying to build them into some combined development hub based around sunflower and marigold. Okay, so then we have a couple of other blocks in here. We've got Ithaca over in 1323A.
Which is immediately adjacent to Captain, which is a heavy oil development, which they're currently doing a polymer flood on.
Yeah.
So obviously incremental volumes to go across Captain.
Okay. And Tangram here in 1425C.
Yeah, well, that's just immediately adjacent to their existing acreage. So it's been merged with their existing acreage, where they've got Thunderball, which is a late Jurassic stroke early Cretaceous pinch out onto the halibut horse. So there's one well in it, and you're unsure whether the well tested the pinch out or just a small four-way dip closure kind of at the toe of the pinch out from these sort of latest Jurassic stroke early Cretaceous sands. So that's just an additional part of that, or some acreage covering more of that accumulation.
Great. 21-2A has gone to Ping, and by the looks of things, it's going straight to second term. So is this part of the Avalon development?
This is Glen.
Glen,
Glen, which is a small discovery that's been around for years. Historically, there were so many partners in it that nobody could ever get it going. Gradually, that partnership got rationalised, but people always felt it needed an additional well on it. in terms of proving up enough volume. Obviously, Ping think there is enough there to go ahead with it.
Okay, so moving up now to the right hand side of this slide, and that's Finder, and I think is that Nick and Henry?
It certainly is. Yes, we've picked up some additional acreage in the South Viking Graben here, which has Upper Jurassic potential within it.
Okay, that's good. Equinor, right on the median line there. It looks like that's probably tied in with some Norwegian prospectivity.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, Ithaca there on with Neo. They've gone straight to second term on this small block here, 1529D.
Yeah, 1529D, which is we think is ptarmigan, which is a Paleocene discovery just north of Britannia.
Yeah. So been around a long time, hasn't been discovered. It's small, maybe 5 million barrels.
Yeah, exactly. All these discoveries have been around a long time.
Yeah.
You know.
But hopefully there's an opportunity to develop something there, and we wish them well. Finally, we move on. I think beg your pardon, we've done the outer Moray. Move on to the central North Sea proper, and I just shot past that. Oops, where am I? Central North Sea. This is a busy slide. There's a lot as ever, but one thing stands out when you look at that. Shell
have taken a big position, and Neo as a partner in pretty much all of it. And it includes the only firm well in the round.
Indeed. So one firm well, that's all that we are aware of to date. There may be others that will be announced in January, but that's a fairly low level of firm well commitment for any licensing round.
Yeah, and they've taken out a big position in the HPHT province there around Elgin, Franklin and Shearwater, which is obviously more important to them because they operate it. So I think a lot of that acreage is just tiebacks to Shearwater. Okay,
and any other highlights that jump off the page here? There is a lot. I mean, we'll put this out in a video, and you can pause the video and have a look in more detail to understand.
Other things to mention, I see Neo have gone straight to the second term on the western part of Cawdor. They're in the eastern part and obviously want to get the whole of the accumulation. It's a chalk discovery that was meant to be developed probably 10 years ago, but still hasn't been developed. Tailwind, now Serica, have gone straight to second term on 292C, which again has a chalk discovery in it, amongst other things. Obviously, that'll be tied back to somewhere like Triton to the north. But you can see, a bunch of things go straight to the second term there.
Yeah, that's great. And we could have a look quickly, just to have a look at the QGIS for this region, and for the central North Sea. We probably just need to zoom out a little bit just to give an overview of where we are. So highlighted there, the blocks in green, they are the blocks that have been announced today. But the blocks in pink, they were applied for. They have not yet been awarded. So, we've only been about 25% of the blocks awarded. And these other ones, well, we're expecting that they'll be awarded in January or announced in January. Okay, so that's where we're up to for the central North Sea. Now, moving back to, where am I moving back to? I'm moving back to here. So the southern North Sea, well, we've mentioned this when we had a few technical issues, and hopefully this is coming out loud and clear now. The fast track clusters, what happened there, do you think?
The environment got in the way. There were a series of clusters in the southern North Sea that were meant to be prioritised, but essentially most of those need appropriate assessments and therefore have been delayed as a result of the OPRED process, and will take several months more. So they won't be awarded until January next year. And they basically include a series of discoveries. Obviously, southern North Sea, it's gas, which could be brought on relatively quickly.
So these are likely to go into the second term, and we've had a comment come in. It was from Max. Hi Max, hope you're doing well. He's asked, could you just explain again that second term? And I think what you said was, it's basically there's no expiration. You've got a discovery, and you're going to work it up. You're going to see if you can justify an FID to bring it on to production. So if it goes to the second term, it means it's close to being a declared commercial, but you've got to work it through and see if the numbers pan out, and if they do, then potentially we could have a discovery on a development on our hands.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So, but we'll have to wait for the Southern North Sea licenses, it seems.
Yeah, we will do. So we expect it in January. There's a bunch of small to modest sized gas discoveries down there that could be developed quickly.
Okay. Now, also not mentioned here, the Irish Sea. That hasn't been announced yet. But I'm just seeing if you've got any more of these. Oh yeah, we've got all sorts of material available. And as I say, anybody who wants a copy of our spreadsheet for this region, just send us an email. We'll also have the YouTube video of this presentation available on YouTube, and that should be out in the next day or two. Okay, moving on now to have a look, basically some of the analysis, and this is kind of so there are 9 licenses now on this graph here. Let me just zoom in. On this graph here, we can see that there's one license. In fact, I think that's your license. It's going straight to driller drop commitments. So that's 5 blocks or part blocks are going there, and then you can see that there have been a number. In total, there have been 9 licenses that have gone straight to drill or drop, which is kind of at the low end of a work commitment.
Yeah, perhaps that, again, I should explain to people that if you apply for a license going into the initial term, the first term, you have to have a well in it, which can either be firm, contingent, or drill or drop. So the license has to have a drill or drop well at the very minimum.
But there have been no contingent wells in the...
No, because now previously contingent wells, essentially there is a mark scheme, and generally speaking, the company or the group with the highest marks gets awarded the acreage. And in the mark scheme, historically there were things like contingent wells that got marks. Mm-hmm. Now they really don't. So there is no point in bidding a contingent well.
So nobody bids one. So okay, well that's fine. That's probably not as interesting as perhaps this one. And this is the part blocks awarded by company. And there's one clear winner in the licensing round, and the 33rd licensing round so far belongs to Shell.
Yeah, and again, the interesting thing is that the big companies that are missing from that.
Indeed. Maybe they're going to come out in the second tranche of awards, but no, Shell were first. And now Ithaca, we understand they applied in 3 separate companies. It's a minor technicality. So that makes Athena the outright second place in the licensing round. Well done.
Thank you very much. We'd have liked more, but somebody outbid us in certain areas. I wonder who that could be.
Oh yeah, they did very well, didn't they?
They outbid a few people.
Yeah, and then you can see there's the range of other companies. So that's who got awarded these rounds. Now the ones that would go to second term, you can see here these are the number of part blocks for Equinor. We've got a little bit of an overview here. Equinor 910A, 912B. Small discovery east of Mariner, and then 913B, a deep Jurassic HPHT, right about the median line. We mentioned Hibiscus on Stag and Crown, looking to tie back to Marigold and Sunflower.
Yeah, Ithaca, Quad 30, who've got Courageous, Ockley, Faraday and Oakwood. This is in the HPHT province. And I think there was competition for those.
Okay.
And then we mentioned it, they've got Ptarmigan, which is a small Paleocene discovery just to the north of Britannia, and 229B, which is southwest of Everest. In fact, Everest almost goes into the block. We think it's probably Paleocene, could be Fulmar. There's a number of prospects in the block, but essentially that's gone straight to second term, so it's probably an extension of Everest or something similar that they've gone for there. And then we also mentioned Neo, who picked up the western part of Cawdor, which is a Cretaceous chalk discovery, and have the existing eastern half. And then Shell in the HPHT area, who have picked up a number of blocks as tiebacks to Shearwater. And then Tailwind, which is now Serica, have got 292C, which is either Kyle or a small discovery in 292A2. Kyle was developed but has been COP'd. And then lastly on that first list there, Total 2229B, basically looks like it's a very small extension of Glen Elg, which is HPHT Jurassic discovery. We've already mentioned Tobermory and Bunnahabhain, West of Shetland.
I think it was good though. I mean,
but we think they have gone straight to second term, despite what it says in the awards. It could well be they've gone straight to second term on those.
And that's because, in the environmental assessment it said they were going straight to second term. But now it's kind of got that's not the case, that they're doing studies in phase A. But we do have a couple of comments here, and Stephen, thanks for your comment. I'm sorry that Shell outbid you too, so you're not alone. You're not alone, Colin. And then another question in from GeoGuy. What's the soonest we could expect any of this stuff to be developed? Well, we're talking about quite a range of different things here.
The most obvious ones are the ones that go straight to second term, and
could be 2 to 4 years.
What I was going to say, the maximum you can get in the second term is 6 years.
Yeah.
And generally in mature areas, they expect it within 4 years. Could be less than that, but those are the rules.
Okay.
So it certainly will be less than 6 years.
So a few years away yet, but coming. And then, we mentioned Hutton and Northwest Hutton, and we'll probably do some videos about that area on our normal YouTube channel in the future. And finally, for the seismic companies, and it's not great, must be quite frustrating. There's been, 5 part blocks. They've said they're going to just obtain 3D seismic. And then the rest, there's reprocessing and acquisition of new seismic, but both of those are in the contingent category. So quite a number of license applications have said it, but nobody's actually committed to doing it as part of their firm work program.
But there is good 3D coverage over many of these areas, and essentially reprocessing existing data is probably the first step that you would take in many areas, because there is existing 3D coverage over most of that stuff.
Cool. Okay. We kind of put some notes together here right at the bottom. So it's been 291 days, and we've waited all that time, and we've only got news on 33 of the 115 applications. So 27 licenses look like they're going to be awarded from today's announcements, and 6 part blocks, they've actually just been merged into existing licenses. So kind of prospectivities or opportunities that spilled over into open acreage, they've just redressed that by putting them into former licenses.
Yeah. And the only problem with that is that at the moment the license timeline is governed by the older license, which is always a challenge. If you've suddenly got a new license merging into an older license, then essentially you end up with less time than you would like in many instances.
Okay, and in terms of awards, 64 awarded out of the 258 blocks. This is the 64 blocks or part blocks awarded out of 258 applied for. Now, 76 companies have applied, but so far we count only 17 that have been awarded blocks. So there's still a lot more to come, we believe. The remainder, awarded in January, that'll be 1 year after the application's closed, and that's an awfully long time. We put out the video quite recently showing how reserves are kind of falling off a cliff, and we need new activity. We need oil fields and gas fields to come on stream. Otherwise, we're going to fall far short of being able to supply energy even prior to the 2050 net zero target.
Well, even out to 2050, oil and gas will supply, on average, 50% of our energy. In a pessimistic scenario, in terms of, or I should say, in an optimistic scenario in terms of declining oil and gas demand. If oil and gas demand doesn't decline so fast, it's probably still going to be about 70% out to 2050.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the moment, we're sending $1 billion a week to Norway for oil and gas.
Spending more money there on education.
And more than their education and defence budgets combined, is leaving the country every year for oil and gas. And we could do it here.
Thanks, Mark, for that little fact. Now, the other thing, we did mention it there. Why is the environmental assessment slowing down this process? There is nothing going to be done on these licenses. It's just paper exercises until such times as a seismic vessel goes into a block, or a drill rig goes into a block, or you determine that you're going to develop a field and put in an FPSO or a platform or pipelines, and each and every one of those activities requires that you go through another environmental assessment for that specific activity. So why is it taking quite so long, do you think?
They seem to do it much quicker in Norway. I have to say that, as Mike said, being awarded a license gives you no authority to go out and undertake any offshore operations. For any offshore operations, you will need additional consents. Norway seem to be able to award licenses much quicker.
Yeah.
We were always told that under EU regulations we had to abide obviously by those. Now we're not in the EU, we're very similar to Norway, and we should be licensing acreage much quicker.
Well, I think Guyana turned their licensing round start to finish in 3 months. It's unfathomable why it's taking quite so long in the UK. But there you go. Had a couple of other comments coming in here. Stephen Morse, thanks again. You think that 3D acquisition will be a bigger issue in the Southern North Sea Awards. So yeah, let's hope so. Hopefully there will be some new data shot down to develop some of the opportunities down there. But we'll have to await January of next year for that. And another question was, well, why is there nothing in the Southern North Sea? It defies us. This was supposed
It's all environmental. It's all environmental.
Yeah.
To be clear, most of the knowledge about the marine environment, not surprisingly, has been because of offshore oil and gas activity. So the most we know about the marine environment is in areas where we've been working oil and gas the longest, and Southern North Sea is one of those. So there are a whole series of environmental regulations that we have to meet, and they are more common in Southern North Sea than areas where we have been exploring much less, like West of Shetlands or Rockall. So that's why it takes so long down there.
Indeed.
Everything is not everything, but most things are subject to an appropriate assessment, and that just takes longer.
Okay. So the question here coming from Dire Straits. I don't think that's the real name. I think that's a nom de plume. A lot of info pulled together since this morning. Out of the stuff announced today, what do you think is the most exciting? Well, for me, it's one of the redevelopments. I'll say no more than that, but very, very exciting. potentially some opportunities there to make a significant contribution. So watch this space, more to come on that.
I think the general theme for me this morning has been or the announcement this morning has been about the amount of stuff that's gone straight to second term.
Yeah.
That is unusual in a licence round in general, and that just sums up the state of play in the North Sea, in that people want short-term payback on whatever they're doing. So longer-term exploration, which typically was what rounds were about, has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat in this round, and the focus has been either on existing licences, get the extension of it, or go straight to second term and get a development and cut out the exploration bit.
And with that, I think probably a good place to call it a day. I think we've covered all the material we were going to cover. It just leaves me to thank my friend Colin Percival here, still talking to me despite my team beating his yesterday.
Now, you said you weren't going to mention that. And you almost did, but he couldn't control himself. What a pleasure to be here, Mike.
Sorry about that, mate. Sorry about that. You normally beat us, so it makes a nice change. Also, I must thank... there's a lot of people behind this who've done a lot of hard work, not just this morning, where they've worked exceptionally hard, but throughout time. I'm referring to Ben Duncan, who's sitting to my left here, to Matthew Belshaw, to Malcolm Pye, and to Jeremy Lockett and Mark Jones as well, who also all contributing to make this live stream. Hopefully it was of interest to you, and if you did enjoy it, please leave a note in the comments below or send us an email. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you back on this channel before too long. Bye for now.
Thanks.